me?
July.
All right, here we go with episode 3. You feel me, dog?
Feel you.
All right. So I guess we're gonna start this off like we do every episode and go straight to top 5 list with the NBA.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna pick up with the small forwards today, which is probably the most interesting position,
Mm-hmm.
the best position, or however you want to put it. You want to start it today?
Yeah, I'll start this episode off with the top 5 small forwards. Coming in at number 1, the king himself, LeBron James. Coming up at number 2, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, number 2. Coming at number 3, Kevin Durant. Coming at number 4, Jimmy Butler. And coming at number 5, Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, sir. Jason Tatum.
All right. So I'm gonna go with my list. It's almost about the same list. Well, basically the same list. I have LeBron 1, like you, Kawhi 2, 3 Kevin Durant, 4 Jimmy Butler, and 5 I have Paul George, not Jason Tatum. I have Jason Tatum as an honorable mention.
Okay.
So let's go down this list one by one. So we can start off with LeBron, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, LeBron's number 1. I mean, I guess you could debate that Kawhi could be number 1, but right now I feel like LeBron has number 1 if you just look at what he's doing this season.
Yeah.
He's changed his game. Well, I wouldn't say he's changed his game. He's adapted his game to play with Anthony Davis. This season, he's leading the league in assists. He is a top 2 MVP candidate right behind Giannis. I don't think that there's any doubt that he's the best small forward in the league, if not the best player in the league right now. Number 2, we're going to Kawhi Leonard. I mean, you saw what he did last season with the Raptors. He took that team that couldn't get past the first and second round with DeMar DeRozan to the championship and won it. Number 3, we have Kevin Durant. Although he's injured, we've seen what Kevin Durant can do when he's healthy. In the 5 to 10 minutes that he played against the Raptors in the finals, he was on his way to dropping 50 points that game. He wasn't missing.
What happened? This computer died? I can't see you.
Ready?
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
All right, here we go. So back to Kevin Durant. When he comes back to the Nets this season, although he's coming off of the Achilles injury, I think it'll be much of the same. Because if you look at his game before, it was, off that jump shot, mid-range, long-range, however you see it. And the Achilles doesn't really take much away from the jump shot. And number 4 is Jimmy Butler. When you look at what Jimmy Butler has done this year, going to the Miami Heat, it's obvious that he's a winner. Every team that he's gone to, he changed the culture. When he was back in Chicago, they were going to the conference finals every year. Even without Derrick Rose, when Derrick Rose got injured, they still made it to the conference finals with Nate Robinson.
Yeah, Nate Robinson, Jimmy Butler. They had Jokic, blew out Dang.
Yeah, and then the season after, when he got traded to Minnesota, you saw they went to the playoffs for the first time since Kevin Garnett, right?
Yep.
And then he went to Philly, and they had probably one of their best runs in a while. They took the eventual champions, the Raptors, to 7 games, and if it wasn't for a superhuman effort from Kawhi Leonard and his lucky shot, it would probably be a different champion. And then we look at what he's doing in Miami now, taking a team that was probably a 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs to one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and a 41 win record. But at the 5 spot is where we have differences. I have Paul George, and you have Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Why do you have Jason Tatum?
I feel like Jason Tatum is a young phenomenon. Jason Tatum, last couple of games before the coronavirus took place, averaging 30 points a game, which is pretty good for a person that's coming in at his second year out of rookie season. I feel like his rookie season, he did really good in playoffs versus LeBron in his conference, where they did the Cavaliers is 7, So I feel like Jason Tatum gonna be a future All-Star and will have an amazing career. How do you feel about Paul George? What do you thoughts on Paul George?
The reason I have Paul George over Jason Tatum is just because of their careers up to this point. I feel like Jason Tatum hasn't proven it enough up to this point, although he's had a pretty impressive career. What he did going against LeBron to the Game 7 series. But you got to remember that Paul George is coming off of an MVP season last year. if it wasn't for injuries, people could argue that he would have won the MVP last year when he was with Russell Westbrook. I think the only thing holding him back is the playoff success. And this year, he's averaging 21, 6, and 5 on a lesser role with Kawhi Leonard, who is obviously the alpha dog on that team.
Right.
So when you look at what he's doing compared to what Jason Tatum doing, I think that Jason Tatum is having the better season right now. But I just don't think that he's had enough in his career yet to, to quite prove that he's better.
But I feel like as of right now, Jason Tatum will have a better career than Paul George. I feel like that right now he'll have an amazing career. Paul George,
I can agree. I can agree.
Go ahead.
Agree with the fact that he's going to have a better career than Paul George. But at this moment, if you're asking me who I would take into the playoffs with me, I feel like I would take Paul George, who's proven it over his career what he can do.
I feel I'd take Jason Tatum over Paul George because what he did, taking LeBron, that Cavaliers team, to Game 7. Even he dunks LeBron that Game 7. I feel like he became the alpha man of that team, where when they go, I feel like they're going to eventually be NBA champions with him, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward. I feel like that they have a young team to build around and take that team to the NBA Finals one day.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with Jason Tatum. But one player that I don't want to leave out of this is Chris Middleton. Although I don't think that he's top 5, top 6.
Yeah.
I think that he's very underrated in what he does for the Bucks. Giannis's inability to shoot the jump shot in late moments when you need a 3, Chris Middleton is that guy who steps up. And for a team that wins 65 plus games, every season, that is probably the most important behind Giannis.
Yeah.
You could do on that team to help that team. And he is on his way to having a 50, 40, 90 season this year, which means that his efficiency is amazing. Players who do that, like Curry, Dirk, Steve Nash, those players. So, he's in that company with his efficiency. And I just don't want to leave him out of there. He's an amazing defender. He's the perfect player. He's a perfect player alongside Giannis.
Yeah, perfect player.
Yeah, I just don't want to leave him out of there.
Like from Giannis' point of view is where Giannis has to attack the basket, so he surrounds himself with shooters. Chris Middleton is that one shooter, a spot-out shooter for Giannis to kick it out and hit the 3 ball if they down a situation. So that is a very perfect example of a person like Chris Middleton.
All right, but if we're going back to the top of this list, we both have LeBron James for obvious reasons. The question is, where do you think LeBron ranks all time? Because over this past week, we've seen 2 people in particular, Kenny Smith and Skip Bayless, have their top 10 lists come out, and LeBron was at 9 and 10 respectively in their list.
Wow.
The question is, where do you view LeBron on your all-time list?
I would rank LeBron number 1 of the all-time list. LeBron, at the end of his career, LeBron will be the best player to ever play basketball. LeBron is an all-around player where he can score, pass, and defend, get rebounds, and even make his teammates better. For them ranking him lower, like 9 and 10, that's really not good for the best player in the world to get ranked that low. That low. Well,
I have LeBron ranked number 2 behind Michael Jordan, and only because of the finals success. When you look at their regular seasons, I think that Michael Jordan outweighs LeBron a little bit in the regular season. But then when you go to the playoff success, Michael Jordan, as you know, is 6 for 6 in the finals with 6 finals MVPs. And LeBron is 3 for 9 in the finals with 3 finals MVPs. That really sets them apart to me. I mean, you could break their game down to see who's the better all-around player or something like that. You could look at the scoring, rebounding, assists. But if you look at the stats and the pure finals record and stuff like that, I think that it shows that Michael Jordan is undoubtedly the better player than LeBron James.
Not disagree on that. I really think I love Michael Jordan. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy watching Michael Jordan play the game. But I feel like, you take away the chips. LeBron's 3 for 9 in the finals and Michael Jordan 6 for 6 in the finals, right? But I feel like if LeBron win the finals, he'll be the greatest player to ever touch the basketball. You know that. You know to yourself that he would be the best player over Michael Jordan. But it's the finals that bring Michael LeBron down. The finals, I feel like if he win the finals this year, he'd be up there with him. And I still have LeBron top of my list of all time players that ever touched basketball.
I just don't think that you could overcome what Michael Jordan has done in the finals. I mean, he hasn't even had a finals series go to Game 7, and people point out the competition that LeBron has faced in the finals. But you got to look at what LeBron did in 2011 in the finals.
Against the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, and the Mavericks. Michael Jordan never has done anything like that. I mean, I think that we can all agree that LeBron folded in those finals. So I mean, if you just look at the playoffs, where it all counts, the regular season's cool, but the playoffs where it all counts,
Yeah.
I think Michael Jordan's career, that's where it takes a step up over LeBron's career.
Yeah, postseason, I definitely would get a Michael Jordan for sure. The postseason, I feel like Michael Jordan outweighs LeBron by scoring 60 points, getting those 6 MVPs, being teams like that, like the Cavaliers, the Jazz, and all the other teams. I feel like Michael Jordan do outweigh LeBron in the postseason play. We'll see this year, this postseason, what LeBron does. No.
Okay. And that's going to bring us to this current NBA and where we are now. After the season's over, we all know that the NBA draft is going to be right after the season ends.
Yes, sir.
Which is unusual. So the 4 main draft prospects that everybody's looking at this year: LaMelo Ball, Obi Toppin, Anthony Edwards, and James Wiseman. Where do you see these 4 ranking?
Where I see them ranking. So
Yeah. So like, what's your ranking for these players in order?
So for number 1 pick, I really love Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is really a player where I can compare him to like a Kevin Durant, in my opinion. He can attack. He has very good IQ. He can shoot the 3 ball from very deep, and I feel like him and KD compared to he's like top there. But I pick him at number 1. My number 2, I'm going with LaMelo Ball. Very high IQ as a point guard. Very, very, very good. Can shoot. The only thing that he's slacking is his defense. He can't defend as well. He's a little lazy defender. But we can get the NBA, he can fix a little sloppiness up. Number 3, I got James Wiseman. James Wiseman is a very, very good ball player. But he had his career short in Memphis. And number 5, number 4, I got Obi Toppin. I really didn't watch a lot of them this season, so I can't say a lot about that.
All right. So we have similar list. Where we differ is at the top 3. My number 1 prospect, I have LaMelo Ball, and mainly because of his potential. I think that his potential exceeds the potential of the other 2 players. When you look at his game, like you said, he's a very high IQ player. He's big for his size.
6'8".
We all know he's a 6'8" point guard, which is not usual. And we realize that his one weakness is his defense,
Yes.
which I feel like has the potential to grow over time when he's in the NBA because of his length. And yeah, so my NBA comparison for him is, at the worst, I can see him being a Ricky Rubio, which we know he is probably one of the best passers in the league, one of the best distributors, but his defense is what holds him back. His defense and his jump shooting. Because when we look at LaMelo Ball's jump shooting right now, it's 25% from 3. I think we all know that it can develop when he gets to the NBA, but as where we stand right now, he's a very inconsistent jump shooter. He shoots it when he wants to and wherever he wants to, but he's inconsistent. So that's why, at worst, I'm seeing him being like a Ricky Rubio type player because, At best, I can see him being a taller Chris Paul. And when I talk about a taller Chris Paul, he's not really a score-first guard. He can do anything on the court. But Chris Paul is known for having great defense. That's when I think, that's why I think LaMelo Ball, with his length, he needs to develop his length into, having, that good defensive prowess on the defensive side of the ball. Unless, if he doesn't do that, then I can see him being like Ricky Rubio, and being like a situational point guard or a certain system point guard. And then, but when we go to number 2, I have James Wiseman over Anthony Edwards, who is your number 1.
Yeah.
James Wiseman, his biggest knock is just that he didn't get to play as much as these other players. And but in the 3 games that we did see him play in Memphis and in high school, it was dominant.
Dominant, yeah, dominant game.
As you know, he looks like a man amongst boys when he played those games, which is why my floor for him is Hassan Whiteside, which we know he's a good rim runner, pick and roll, catch lobs, and he's a very good rebounder, which we know James Wiseman is an excellent rebounder. And he's probably the best shot blocker in the league, which we also know that James Wiseman is an excellent shot blocker. But I don't really see him being that. I see him being somewhere a step under Anthony Davis, who is probably one of the best floor running bigs in the league. You know that he can run. He's about as fast as a guard.
Yeah.
All right. I can see James Wiseman being that. Off the pick and roll, he's faster than other bigs, and he's also has the shot blocking ability as Anthony Davis, because we know, just like both Hassan Whiteside and Anthony Davis have similar shot blocking ability, which I see, and James Wiseman, I see in this game. Third, we're going to go Anthony Edwards, which you got number 1. I think that he has the ability to develop it into a very good scoring guard in the NBA. And what I mean by that is a player similar to like Tracy McGrady, which we knew was a very good scoring guard, but he could never really get over the hump to win.
Yeah.
And that's why I have Anthony Edwards at 3, because I don't think that he is really capable of carrying a team himself to the promised land. I think that he's going to need defenders around him. Players like James Harden's team, right? He has spot up shooters and defenders around him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how Anthony Edwards is going to have a team built around him if he gets to the NBA. But I think that he needs to go to a certain situation to help him develop to that. That's why I have him at 3, because I think that he's probably the best talent out of all of them, per se. But he needs to go to the right situation in order, for him to completely develop to that. Because we also see some problems that we see with LaMelo Ball with his consistency from shooting. He's also a 29% shooter from 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he needs to develop that part of his game. And then Obi Toppin, I have at 4th because I don't really think that he's on the level of these players. My highest NBA comp is John Collins, who is he's a stretch 4 who's also very athletic, which is perfect for Obi Toppin because he's a stretch 4 who's also very athletic. That's basically what I see him being. I don't really see him being a dominant player, how Blake Griffin was earlier this year. I see him being a John Collins. And maybe the 3rd best player on the championship team, something like that.
All right, before I cut you off, somebody asked me the stats of LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was averaging 17, 6, and 8 on a Australian team where he got injured, came back, still doing good. I was averaging triple-double per game. LaMelo Ball, don't sleep on that guy. He's a really talented kid.
Okay, so with those players, why do you have Anthony Edwards above LaMelo Ball?
I have Anthony Edwards above LaMelo Ball is because I feel like Anthony Edwards is a player where if you watch his Georgia tape, he can take the game over. He have very good IQ. He can, pass the ball to his teammates or he can attack. He can jump shoot. I feel like LaMelo Ball, he have IQ, but he can score, but he don't want to score a lot. He want to bring his team around, but that's pretty good to bring a team around. But you need somebody to take the game over in the 4th quarter, like Kevin Durant to take the 4th quarter over. You want somebody like him to take the 4th quarter over to end the game and close it out. I feel like LaMelo Ball don't have that ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where you're going with that, but the reason that I have LaMelo over him is because I can see LaMelo developing into I can see him developing into the best all-around player at all 4 of these. I can see everything in his game. I don't think that he has really a weakness in his game. I think that his defense can develop. I think that his jump shooter can develop. I think that he can become a better finisher at the rim. Just overall, because of his length and his position, I think that he has the best potential out of all 4 of these.
One thing you got to stop in the NBA for LaMelo Ball is don't let him jack shots far out. The one thing he like to do is take contested shots and that bring to his shot level down. Yeah, what's it called?
And I see similar things in Anthony Edwards games. He he's never really been like on a team with like other great players because he was in high school. He was the man on his high school team, and then he goes to a small school for basketball in Georgia. He was also but he was also the man on his team. So I don't really know if he has the in to take a back seat and try to learn a little bit, or is he just going to go out there and jack shots and be, you know, the number one guy like he's used to being.
I feel like he have like ability to take his time and learn and ride wave with the game. You gotta wait with the game so he can be that player to take the team to another level.
Mm-hmm. All right, but that's it for the NBA prospects. We're now going to switch over to the NFL and continue the series when we talked about the top 5 quarterbacks in the first episode, top 5 running backs in the second episode. Now we're going to go to the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL. Who do you see as your top 5 wide receivers in the NFL?
Top 5 wide receivers, man. This was the hardest I had to do this.
It's probably the hardest one we've done yet.
But my number 1 receiver is coming at the one and only DeAndre Hopkins. That's my number 1 receiver. My number 2, Michael Thomas. My number 3, Julio Jones. Number 4, Mike Evans. My number 5, Odell Beckham Jr.
Okay. I'm going to name mine and then we're going to discuss that. Number 1, I have Julio. 2, I have DeAndre Hopkins. 3, I have Michael Thomas. 4, I have Tyreek Hill. And then 5, I have Devontae Adams.
Wow. That's interesting.
So how about you go down your list first and tell me why you have everybody at your spot?
All right, for DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like that guy was amazing these last couple of years. The last 2 years having 1,000 yards. 2018 with 0 drops, which says a franchise record. For Michael Thomas, he just set records every day. Every season, 1,000 yards every season he played in. Julio Jones is an amazing player. I just feel like I got my number 3 because his team. I feel like he should leave the Falcons. 1,000 yards. And the youngest player to ever get 10,000 yards, Mike Evans, man. That guy down there in Buccaneers, tearing it up, even though his quarterback didn't have a great season, throwing 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns. But he also had 1,000 yards. I feel like with Tom Brady and him going through this year, it will be amazing. And Odell, I feel like Odell his rookie season was great. I feel like last year he had a 1,000-yard season, but didn't get a lot of touchdowns. But we will see improvement this year.
All right. So for my list, I have Julio number 1. And what you said about Julio, that he needs to switch teams, I don't think that's really right. Only for the fact that Julio, over his career with the Falcons, has probably been the most consistent receiver, and if not ever, in this era since Jerry Rice. Because if you look at his last 5 seasons, he's averaging over 1,500 yards, which is more than any player in NFL history over a 5-year stretch, other than Antonio Brown. And I think that him and Matt Ryan's chemistry is a big reason to why that is why it is. So I don't think that he needs to leave Atlanta. I think that Atlanta needs to bring stuff to him. And for my number 2 receiver, I have DeAndre Hopkins, who his entire career has played with bums at quarterback, basically, up until recently where he got Deshaun Watson. His entire career, he's had one backup to the next backup quarterback, and he's never had an actual quarterback. And despite this, he still puts up 1,300 yards every year. And now he's going to Arizona to a quarterback where they know that they are going to throw the ball over there. And he is the one receiver. And I could see him having a huge year, probably his best year yet. And number 3 is Michael Thomas, which some people might say is a little bit low for Michael Thomas, considering what he did last year. Led the league in receptions, yards, anything you can really think of last year. But the reason I have him there is because I don't see Drew Brees replicating what he's done in these past years, which is why I think they got Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
So they have somebody outside of Michael Thomas to throw the ball to, because if you realize, a lot of times Drew Brees forces the ball to him, which is why he set the NFL record for most receptions in a year. It's also why they lost to the Vikings in the first round of the playoffs last year. I think that's why they got Emmanuel Sanders, kept Jared Cook, you know, because they don't want to keep forcing the ball to Michael Thomas.
Mhm.
4, I have Tyreek Hill. And basically for one reason only is because he's the fastest player in the NFL, and there's really no stopping that. And last year, in the playoffs especially, he showed why that's such a big asset, his speed.
In the Super Bowl too.
Yes, in the Super Bowl, it was basically what caused the 49ers the game was
Mhm.
because the Chiefs had more speed than them on the outside, and they could not stop it in the fourth quarter. And then at 5, I have Devontae Adams for the main reason because he is Aaron Rodgers' only target. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to feed him a lot this year. Because last year they weren't really on the same page,
Hey,
really. I feel like this year is going to be a completely different story when it comes to Devontae Adams. I think he's going to get back to his normal self.
that's a good one. But the reason I didn't put Tyreek Hill on my list is I feel like I need to see him get 1,000 yards. He didn't have 1,000 yards like besides like one season, but like he's a very good player. He's very quick. That's what I can say. He's very quick. I have him on my number 6 on my list. But I feel like if he get 1,000 yards, more than 1,000 yards, he'd be a good receiver. Well, he is a good receiver. I'd be a better receiver.
See, and I feel like a lot of people, when a lot of people look at Tyreek Hill, I feel like they look at him just the way that you do, which is that he doesn't get as many yards because he's just speed. When you actually dig deep into his stats, he had 2 years where he had 1,200 yards and 1,500 yards back to back. But when
Mhm.
people look at him, they look at him as a returner and speed. They don't actually look at his stats. He's actually one of the most well-rounded receivers in the league, despite his height and just having speed. That's why I think that most people tend to leave him out of their list.
Me, when I see more improvement, I'll put him in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And who was your 4 and 5?
My 5th one was Odell. Odell. I feel like Odell will have an amazing season this year. Despite the season he had last year, he had what 4 touchdowns. I feel like him and Baker Mayfield was not on the same page. I feel like this year they'll be on a great page. Hopefully, if Baker Mayfield throw the ball to him a lot, get more touchdowns, and yeah,
And who was your 4?
it was Mike Evans.
Explain that one more time. Why do you think that Mike Evans and Odell are going to have a better year than Tyreek Hill?
I feel like Mike Evans now have a goal in this team. That one piece. I'm gonna say Jim Wilson wasn't good enough, but I feel like he has somebody that don't want to force the ball to him. So I feel like Mike Evans will have a great season, despite he had 1,000 yards all season since like 2000. I'm staying 2014, 1,000 yard season ever since having not good quarterbacks either. Besides, I feel like when that Bucks team coming where they got Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas, they got OJ Howard, Robert Gronkowski, they got Tom Brady on a team where they can spread the ball, and we'll see how they do this year. I feel like Mike Evans will have a great season, 1,000+ yards, and
And for what you just said is the exact reason why I disagreed with Mike Evans being on the list is because of the amount of receivers. The what's it called? It's because of the amount of weapons that Tom Brady has. When I look at Chris Godwin, which is a guy that I was considering putting on my list, I feel like Chris Godwin on the same team as Mike Evans is going to have a bigger year, only because he fits Tom Brady's play style a little bit more. He's that slot receiver where he could, throw the short routes to instead of Mike Evans, which is a throw it up and go get it receiver, which was perfect for Jameis Winston's style of play, because we know Jameis Winston likes to take a lot of risk.
yeah, but I feel like
That's why I don't have Mike Evans on my list.
if Mike Evans can develop that stop, like not stop, was not going up and carry it and catching like getting lower slots or like little feeds or like slanting, I feel like he'd be a great receiver, catch the ball more, and he would probably fit Tom Brady's play style.
Mm-hmm. And for Odell, the reason that I didn't have him on my top 5 is basically the same reasons as Mike Evans as well. I think that there are too many people on that team to feed the ball around that. I don't think that he's going to have a better season than anybody that I named. And for the main reason is because the Browns are a run-first team.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at their backfield of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, plus their coach, their coach who they just signed was the Vikings offensive coordinator last year, Kevin Stefanski. And the Vikings last year, they ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball, especially when they had Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
And that's how they beat the Saints and the playoffs. They ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball. They ran the ball down the Saints' throat. And I feel like when you have a backfield of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and you spent the entire offseason on upgrading your offensive line, they're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Especially seeing how Baker did last year and how he handled the pressure last year. I think that they're going to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and allow Baker to open the play action up because they just continuously run the ball.
Feel like they didn't do that. They have Odell and Jarvis Landry right there to throw the ball to instead of running a lot. But they do got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, which Nick Chubb had an amazing season last year. But we'll see what they would do this season.
And one more player that I don't want to leave out is Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was seriously considering putting him on this list, but for the same reasons as Mike Evans and Odell, unfortunately, I think that he's gonna fall under the players that have just too many options on their team for him to be looked at as a top 5 receiver. Because when you look at his team, when he has Zeke Elliott in the backfield, when he has he has Michael Gallup on the other side of him, CeeDee Lamb is going to be lining up on the other side of him. I think that it's going to be difficult for him to get as many yards, catches, receptions, touchdowns as he's done in the previous few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that too because it was like that in Oakland where he had Michael Crabtree and I don't know what was that, but I feel like Michael Crabtree when they traded him, he had a great season last year, but this year they got speed. So like CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Zeke, they like to run the ball with Zeke. So I think he's gonna get a lot of options this year for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the reason I don't have Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or even Odell on the list is because their offenses are just too stacked. As when you compare it to my other players and Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams, they are clearly the number one guys on their teams, and they're going to be getting their touches regardless.
Okay, so top four in the Super Bowl. Are you talking about the 2021? All right, top 4. I would have the 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, I have the Buccaneers, and I would have it's a hard one. The last one would be a hard one. I just don't know who I'm pick down there.
All right, so for my top 4 in the Super Bowl, in the AFC side, I see the Ravens and the Chiefs, and really nobody else in that division. Ravens and the Chiefs. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, I think that they're going to own that division for a while. And then when you look at the NFC, I either see the Saints or I think it's a toss-up between the 49ers and the Buccaneers.
I'm saying 49 Buccaneers, I feel the same thing. But I do have the Ravens too. I forgot about the Ravens. My fault. So you think the comment Jackson made within his career? Do you think the comment that Sean Jackson had made within his career? How do you feel about that?
Sean Jackson, I feel like his career is coming to an end regardless because if you look at his game is predicated on his speed, and he's getting up there in age. I don't think it's going to end his career. I think that they'll get over it.
Yeah.
And when you look at Drew Brees, they eventually got over what Drew Brees said. I think time heals stuff, and I think that in the Eagles locker room, the time is just going to heal what he said, and that they'll get over it eventually.
And he even spoke with Julian Edelman to take a trip down to Washington D.C. and go to the Black History Museum, and Julian Edelman take him to the Jewish Museum. So hopefully they can get that healed up. But I feel like his career's already come to an end because his injuries. He get injured too much. Like last year, got injured, he came back, got injured again. So I feel like his injuries play a big part of his career of him ending it short.
Yeah, I think a combination of injuries and how he plays the game, based off his speed, is just gonna end his career ending before those comments will ever
Yeah.
have his yeah. So, well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of DBK Sports. Thanks for the comments in the comment section, and we'll see you in episode 4 tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, guys. Peace out.